Hey guys, welcome back to Pokemon TCG Pocket. In today's video, I wanted to take a look at one of my favorite decks for free-to-play / low-spending players or players who just haven't had much luck. Now, in this game, it's a bit interesting depending on which pack you choose to go for, what decks you can go for, and I do think there are some other great free-to-play options for beginning accounts. But this one is a deck that I think is amazing. Once you it's like a top-tier deck at the moment from my testing in terms of full strength capacity, but it's also really strong at low investment or with a bunch of low rarity Pokemon until you start developing your account out. So I think it's a fantastic one to look at it, and this is going to be the Pikachu EX deck, and I'm going to go through a few different versions of it. There is a bunch of different ways you can play it, including a full free-to-play version which uses all 1 and 2 diamond Pokemon cards, except for that one Pikachu EX. Now, if you don't have Pikachu EX, you can still play this, but Pikachu EX is that extra one to give you the real turbo feel to it. Once again, we are still away on holiday, so I do apologize if the audio is off a little bit, but doing my best to get some content out here. But like I said, there are definitely other good free-to-play decks depending on what you aim for, but this one is going to rely on your account early on going for the Pikachu packs, because a lot of these Pokemon are exclusive to those Pikachu packs. But I'm going to take a look at it, give you guys a rundown, do a couple test battles, and see how we go with this one, just so you guys can get a feel. So I'm going to show you some of the decks that I've been experimenting with this one. Now, with this one, I have been using a bunch of different tech. Now, I have been testing out the Eevee Jolteon tech, which I do really like. But Jolteon obviously is a 3 diamond Pokemon card, and you guys know those 3 diamond ones, if it's one that you're really going for, I know all the Mewtwo people going for Gardevoir, that thing's impossible to get. But just note that there is different ways to play it. I am tech experimenting with the Eevee here. Sometimes it doesn't work out too well, because if you don't have that Jolteon evolution, then Eevee doesn't count towards Pikachu getting the extra damage. But the cornerstone of this team is going to be the Pikachu EX. Now, the Pikachu EX, as long as you have 3 electric Pokemon on the bench, it's going to be doing 90 damage. If you've got 2, 60, if you've got 1, 30, and if you've got none, 0. So damage scales based on your benched electric Pokemon, and this is just a really quick way. Like a basic Pokemon with the Pikachu EX, being able to jump in there, you get 2 energy on the thing, and away you go. You are hammering in that damage, which is fantastic, and this is one of those very aggressive decks. Now, it is going to struggle against something like some of the grass stall type teams that are really, really frustrating, but against the more ramp up explosive decks, this goes really well. I find it goes really well against Mewtwo decks, against Charizard decks, and stuff like that. But Pikachu is the cornerstone. Now, if you have it, this is very much a luxury card, but that is the Zapdos EX, because once again, I got 1. I would be running 2 if I had to, but really good card, because the 130 HP lets you put it up early if you have it early, and start just basically doing chip damage with that peck, whilst also having a good amount of HP to survive. And then we only have the 1 retreat cost. So if you have an X speed in your deck, or you just have that 1 energy on it from doing some pecks, you can really retreat it out once it takes a bit of damage, so that you don't lose those 2 points to your opponent, and then you can reset with a Pikachu EX or some of these other cards. So Zapdos EX, a fantastic one in this deck. Now, the other cornerstones that we have, obviously, like most decks, you're going to be running 2 Pokeball, 2 Professor's Research. That's pretty staple. Now, I have the Giovanni in here. That's because I am lacking things like the Sabrina and stuff like that I would otherwise tech in, just because I haven't pulled from those packs yet. So there is definitely other tech that you can have in here. I really love the X speed in this one. Everything has a low retreat cost in this deck, so using that 1 X speed can help you escape out of a tricky situation. I do really like this card in this deck especially. Now, when we look to other Pokemon that you can put in this one, I believe this line, the Zebra Striker, is an amazing line for this deck. The reason being, it gives you back row access. It allows you to attack the bench, because in this game currently, in the meta, what I found, there is a lot of switching going on. You let something get a bit low, especially your EXs, then you swap them out so that they don't lose a point, then you bring in some of your basics, then you're not too stressed if a couple of them die, and then you bring in your EX again. So the switch meta is very prominent, and there is so many times when you can get a Zebra Striker out and you can just go ahead and snipe a back row and finish them off and win the game like that. So I really do like this one. Plus, it is only a 1 energy cost. And also, if you just have the Blitzel in there, you do still get that 60 HP and 20 damage out of it for the 1 energy, which is a really good starter. And once again, these only have that 1 retreat cost, synergizing really well with the team. Now, like I said, I've been experimenting with the Jolteon Eevee, but if you don't have that, we can go over into like my more free-to-play version of it. Now, this version is using only 1 and 2 diamond cards, except for 1 copy of Pikachu EX. Now, I do have some trainers that I'm missing. So like I said, I really like Sabrina in general. I haven't summoned on this account on that pack yet. So I just put a potion and a Giovanni in to fill those spots. Still not too bad. As you can see, I've only got 1 Voltorb. Voltorb is a 1 diamond. I still haven't got a second Voltorb. So that's like a very awkward thing, but you would chuck another Voltorb in this one. This is just more for demonstration's sake. And then we also have the Electrode. And the cool thing about Voltorb Electrode is, once again, we have that pretty low cost of being 2 energies, and we can get the Electro Ball for a 70 damage. It's a really solid, aggressive type setup. And once again, if we look at the Electrode, we have no retreat cost. This is what makes Electrode huge, and I would be using it in my main deck as opposed to the Jolteon, although I do get some clutch wins with Jolteon. But if I had that second Voltorb, I would be slapping the Electrode and Voltorbs in, because 1, Voltorb's just a great basic as well, with a 1 coster as well. On his kit over here. And then we also have that Electrode with 0 retreat cost. So you'll see the faster the Pokemon get, the less their retreat cost. So we've got Dodrio and Electrode that have that 0 retreat cost, which is super, super clutch. And then if we're looking at free-to-play and you don't have any other options yet, we also have the Heliolisk. Now, the reason being, once again, 1 retreat cost, not too bad. Guaranteed 40 damage for 2 energy, plus you could get the flip and get the extra 40. Now, as opposed to this one, I do actually like some of the other options, but as a complete budget, this is a 1 diamond to get. And if we look at the set, it's generic across it. So a lot of people are going to have this. You can get it from any of the packs, whereas something like the Electrode and the and the Voltorb, they are from the Pikachu pack. So do keep that in mind. But that is a look at the deck, and we'll jump in and we'll go through a little play test. We'll do the free to play one as well. Show you guys this version. But once again, the meta is hard to define at the moment because the random battle system, like I spend about 5 just scrap battles before I can get a proper battle against someone. When I get home, I will be setting up in my Discord and doing competitive battles there, trying to, get around the game a bit more and hopefully prepare for when I'm hoping they launch a competitive mode. But let's jump into some battles. We're just going to go up against the AI here because I can't be bothered going through a million queues. This is just more to show you how the free-to-play version works. And at the end of the day, if you want to compete against people who have very high rarity decks, using multiple EXs and stuff, you're going to have to use that. But I wanted to show you guys more of what the free version looks like. So let's jump in against something we're weak against so that if we actually do it, it looks a little bit better. So my son's been playing with the Blastoise deck there, just getting me some of those achievements. I let him go. But let's see if we can jump in with this one. Now it is scuffed because we've got the 1 Geodude and 2, the 1 Voltorb and 2 Electrodes. But let's just jump in here and see if we can show you guys how this one functions. So we could do it against a couple different decks as well, but I just want to show you guys the purpose. Now, I honestly don't like going first with this deck. I find if you got stage 3 decks, you want to go, you kind of want that, but not with these ones. So because we do have the 2 stages of evolution there, we're going to do this. We're going to slap the Voltorb on the bench as well. And as you can see, we've already got our bench completely full for that. Now, if I had a Voltorb and Electrode, that would be perfect because turn 1, I would be able to play that Voltorb in the active spot, then evolve it into the Electrode whilst playing the energy on the Pikachu. Then the next turn, my Electrode would probably still be alive and I can retreat for 0 cost and away we go. And that is where the Electrode is huge for these switch plays, but I don't want to risk not getting an Electrode. So we're just going to go and play like that. We'll jump in and see how we go. So we got the enemy matchup. Not too bad. But the whole premise of this deck is to just start ramping up super quick. Now, the Blitzel, I could put on the bench right now. I'm not going to. We're going to go ahead and use our Pokeball just to thin the deck down a bit because now we do want to get those evolution cards as well. So that's pretty fine. We obviously going first. Oops, I accidentally hit auto. Going first, we do not want to be going first with this deck, ideally, because if you go second, you get to play that energy straight away and get some momentum, kind of like they're doing to us. And as you can see, because we are weak to them, it kind of makes this a really scuffed run. But if we want to go here, we can go ahead and do this. We can attach that energy. we can go ahead and evolve here. So what was that doing? 20. So we are actually going to survive this next hit. Then we can go ahead and put the Blitzel on the bench. Now, this puts us in a decent situation, and this is where you start to see the turbo aspect of this deck, even from a free perspective. So end turn, we actually did get lucky having that Pikachu in there, but obviously with the extra 2 Pokeballs, hopefully you can get around to it. If you get that extra copy of Pikachu, that is when it becomes really, really potent. So there we go. He does get the Machoke out, which is going to be an issue for us because now our Pikachu is not going to have the damage unless we draw into a Giovanni this turn. So we'll have to wait and see. Luckily, we do have the extra Blitzel here to go ahead and put on the bench. So we're good in that sense. But once again, this deck that we're playing against, I think is just going to have the wood over us. I don't know if we pulled the Giovanni, dude. What the hell is going on? So we're going to attach that extra energy. We're going to play you on the bench. Now we've got our Pikachu doing the 90 damage. This is where we are going to go ahead and we're going to play that Giovanni. Keep in mind, if that Machop didn't evolve into the Machoke that turn, we could have still used our X speed to exit out of there and jump in with it, which would have been an ideal situation. But now we do have the extra damage coming out. That clutch 100 from the Pikachu going to get us that extra 1. Now, unfortunately, with this deck, if he does put out the Hitmonchan, we are at threat of losing after we knock out the Hitmonchan, because the Hitmonchan is going to do an extra 50 to us, bring us down to 70, depending on what he does. If he does get the Marowak, which he does, we could be in a ton of trouble. Now, the Marowak is an X one, so we've just got to wait and see how we go over here. So what we can do here is we can actually switch to this. We can do this. We can slap this extra energy on this one. And now what I'm considering doing here is, because he's probably going to switch to his Marowak if he has the X speed in the next turn. So this is where we've really got to be careful, because Marowak, if we look at this, if we can actually long press. Okay, so there we go. So 80 times 2, that's going to do the extra 20. So I mean, if we want to take the risk, and this is where you got to come up with it. So that's going to do 100 damage. If he wins the double flip on that, we're done. So this is where I'm trying to toss up the decision on trying to play safe versus playing for the straight win. Now, the problem is as well that I don't guarantee a kill against that Marowak. So that is why I am considering if we go ahead and the problem is that 100 damage is gonna get too much for us, because even if I do the extra 30, we're still gonna be short. So unfortunately, this is where we are completely bricked and we will not win this battle. But you can get an idea for the speed of this deck. It just that disadvantage in typing has kind of hurt us, because my thought was if I go with the Zebra Strike and swap, you know what, let's just do it. Let's do this turn. We're gonna use the Pikachu. We're going to see how it goes. If we live this one, we can maybe, if we're not even going to get the Electrode, so we're kind of boned. Maybe I should have done the other play, but we do still have 2 points to play with. So if he doesn't knock us out this turn, we do have a chance to do something. And this is where having those extra Sabrinas and stuff in your deck to swap out those unfavorable matchups can really work. So we do actually get to live through this one. So that is very clutch. Taking the 100 damage, okay, that's all right. So we obviously cannot land the knockout here. But what we can do is we can do this. And now we can use our X speed. But the problem we are going to have in this situation is going to be that we need to then draw extra bench Pokemon, because we're going to need the 90 damage out of our Pikachu once we get him back in. But because we have the extra 2 points, the opponent only has the 1 point, we can play this either way that we want and actually get the enemy down to that 90. Now, once again, due to our weaknesses, that's what's making us get clipped here, because otherwise Zebra Strike would live a single head with an extra 10 HP. But what we're going to do here is we're going to do this one. And as you can see, we're going to go ahead and, dude, we could actually attack the Cubone in the back and then clutch it, but you know, we're gonna go straight on, because if we double tails, we could go the Cubone twice and get it, but we would also have to rely on getting the extras. Good thing we did not do that. Good thing we did not do that. Oh no, the Sabrina coming out, really ruining our day. So we're just going to sacrifice the Voltorb here. That's fine. We can live with the sacrificed Voltorb. Unfortunately, now this opponent does have the switch, and we know the AI does like to switch. So unfortunately, that is probably where we're going to be out of luck, due to that being their second point as well. So we needed to live. We're just going to slap the Pikachu out and hope for the best. Even a Giovanni is not going to save us from this situation. Let's go ahead and slap it in. There be the Electrode. All right, so now there's not too much else we can really even think about doing. We just need to rely on, we're only going to do the 60 damage here. He's going to swap, and we're going to be completely bricked from this point in. So let's just see. There's the 60 coming out. Let's see. He's going to probably retreat. No, tails. We clutched it with the double tails. There you go. Not too bad on a typing disadvantage for pretty much a fully free-to-play team. There we go. We can slap that Pokeball out. See, here we go. All right, sweet. Now we get you on the bench. Happy days. So that's the lucky thing there. We can do that. We can do that. Now we can go ahead, we can get our 90 damage and happy days. So obviously that was a bit lucky, but when we're looking at a full 1 and 2 diamond team besides that one Pikachu EX, I'm pretty happy with the way that played against a disadvantage of typings. Obviously that wasn't a full meta deck, but let's jump in and try out one more of the decks just to see how this can go and see if we can get any other good results. So let's jump out. Whoop, got a couple more achievements. Nice. Next, all right, let's go. All right, so where are we going to go to next? Ooh, had I not been that one yet? Sweet. Let's do the Mewtwo deck. And let's go in once again with our free-to-play one. Now, this one is going to heavily rely, because we don't have that more expensive deck, this is a Mewtwo EX with Gardevoir deck. And, okay, go on second, which is good. It's going to depend on what our opening hand is, because we could really brick here, as we have, and we're kind of boned. Unless that Pokeball gives us Pikachu EX, we're going to be in a tricky situation, because all we got is the Blitzel, and we don't have anything else. So unless you can really fill up that bench, you are going to be in a bad situation. And that's where these more free-to-play versions, when you're fighting enemies that do have decent kind of builds, like these aren't the best decks, obviously, that we're fighting with the AI. But once again, it is a nice way to have a look at it. So unfortunately, we get the X speed, which is definitely something we didn't need at this stage. It's going to be handy later on. Okay, so that gives us another one on the bench that we can then evolve. But once again, we can jump in here, quickly get that first little bit of damage, Zap Kick, then we can evolve past that as well, get another 30 in. Hell, if we even luck out and get a Giovanni and he doesn't put anything on the bench, which he is, so don't stress about that. So let's just see what this one does. Go straight into the Clefable, so that's going to be bad. They get the Mewtwo EX, and you can see this is where this deck, it does rely on getting that Pikachu EX early. So having your 2 Pokeballs and 2 Pikachu EX, or having those Zapdos, are going to be huge as well, because those are all very important tech pieces in this team to be able to get it to work functionally. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the Zebra Strike there. We've got 50. Enemy's going to do 40. That's okay. We can jump over into the Helio if we can do it. Yep, there we go. Okay, we've got the Heliolisk now, so we can just go ahead and do that Spear. Now, this is the play where sometimes you think about aiming the Mewtwo down and starting to whittle that Mewtwo down, but I'm going to go ahead and just keep the damage on the front row. Then we're going to switch it. Actually, I probably should have gone for the Mewtwo in that situation, because that didn't get us a guaranteed kill on Clefable using the Heliolisk, whereas we could have still got the head flip and done it. So that was just a misplay by my point. And once again, the fact that we are not lucking out and we are not managing to get any of those Pikachus is really costing us here. So let's go ahead with this one. And let's go ahead and retreat you out. Yep, go in. And now we can go ahead and we can do this one. If we get the heads knockout, we get the tails, it's a rip. So once again, the thing I am quite enjoying about this game, I know some people hate it, is the RNG of all the flips and stuff. There's no deck that really is super consistent. This one is probably one of the most consistent in my opinion, except for when you play some of the flipping Pokemon. But when we look at especially like the water decks and stuff like that, with their reliance on Misty, if you win the flips, it's amazing. If you don't win the flips, it's kind of just a massive rip in general. So here we go. We get that. What we can do is we can do this. Once again, I'm kind of kicking myself for not putting that extra damage in. If we do get a heads here, though, this is good, because then we're in Electrode kill zone for this Mewtwo EX. If we get the heads, we do get the heads. So now, once we do that, he's going to knock us out, but then we do get that 70 damage straight out of our Electrode next turn and knock him out straight on the counter. So this is actually a pretty good situation for us. Once again, we don't have the Pikachu, but against these Mewtwo EX decks, like I mentioned at the start, this does have a decent matchup because of the speed. We are able to get some decent damage out. Now, obviously, a little bit of that is counting on a little bit of RNG, but this is not too bad of a situation, because once again, we get that Geodude up, we go ahead and we slap into the Electrode, And now we're going to go ahead and get that exact 70 damage. And now pretty much we're in a good situation with this deck. Now, luckily they didn't get any Gardevoirs out or Reltzers or anything like that, which puts us in good stead. But now all we need to do is essentially swap to our Zebra Strike if he does switch the Clefable out of the active spot. And then we get to snipe that back row and it's GG's. So that is what we're pretty much looking at. So I'm curious to see if no retreat coming out there. But once again, with that Clefable, we could have, if they did retreat, we could have gone through. Once again, we do have the Electrode who would have one-shot the Clefairy, all those things in play, but turned out to be a not too bad situation. Once again, that completely rode on the flipping of that heads when we did that attack on the Mewtwo EX. But once again, there you go. There's our last point, getting the win. Like I said, that was an example of it without using the Pikachu. That was like all using one diamond and two diamond Pokemon. But this deck, I really do like it. Like I said, for beginners especially, because they're all easy cards to get, even though I've still only got the one Voltorb. But you can get some really good pressure out of it and help you get through the early part of the game and then start to looking at packs that you want to pull for, whether you want to start building those Mewtwo EX decks. Dude, I'm having so much fun with Dragonite decks. Like, there's all the fun decks, but I think this one for a beginning player is just a really fantastic one to get you in. And it's one of those decks where, like I showed there, it can work with like just one Pikachu EX, even no Pikachu EX to some extent, but you're going to struggle in a lot of situations. And then as you progress through, each copy of one of those better cards into the deck just further improves it. Whereas a lot of other decks you look to play, you kind of need all the puzzle pieces at the start to be able to do anything. Whereas this one works at the very lowest investment and then just keeps gradually getting better. And then it sits really, really strong once you've got it with a full deck list of amazing cards. Now, I will go through best deck lists and stuff for like the end game / meta version of these, but I really wanted to get this beginner deck out because I've seen a lot of people actually having trouble just getting through these master missions or whatever they are, the PvE mode. What's this one called? The expert solo battles. So I've seen some people struggling to get through that. And as you can see, like this deck can really get you through it, and there's not too much expense involved in this one except for that one Pikachu EX if you did aim for those Pikachu packs. So once again, that is everything that I wanted to show you guys from this deck. Absolutely loving the deck so far. Actually, you know what? Little treat. I was eyeing off some Pidgeots over in the Wonder Pick. Unfortunately, they're all the full art Pidgeots, which means they're more expensive to go for. They're 3 instead of 2. But we're going to go ahead and do it anyway. There was one down here that actually had something else with it. Yeah, it had Dragonite with it. So let's go ahead and try this. We're going to do the recover. We've got a bunch in the bank. And I do want the Pidgeot. Now, I have this thing. I always toss up between bottom left and top left. And whichever one I choose, the card I want is always in the other one. So I'm going to go with bottom left. And you guys watch. The Pidgeot's going to be in the top left. Watch it. Pidgeot top left, 100% every day of the week. The Dragonite, dude, I would have loved the Dragonite too. Okay. All right. Let's give that thanks. All right, we're gonna do 2 more of these going for the Pidgeot. We're gonna do 2 more. Let's see how we go. All right, there's one. Give me that Pidgeot. Dude, I want a Pidgeot. Okay, we're gonna go bottom left again. Damn, dude, these things are painful. On rerolls, I always get the good thing. On my main accounts, I never get it. Okay, it was top middle. I'm not too bad on that. All right, let's go. One more Pidgeot in here. I couldn't believe how many Pidgeots were floating in this thing. So let's go down to the next Pidgeot here. Let's go ahead and grab it. Yoink. Yep, use it. Let's see how we go. Let's see if we can get it. All right, bottom left. No. Do not be in the top left, Pidgeot. Do not be in the top left. I'll regret my decision. Okay, it's top right. That's all right. I have this mental thing with it. These things shoot me. But hey, that kind of sucked. But, you know, we'll land a hit on my main accounts one day. Because on all the rerolls I do that are trash, I hit the EX every time. It's ridiculous. But anyway, guys, that is going to be it for this one. As always, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day. And I look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.